Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
I don't know if we would say that this was really high up the list for the Arizona Cardinals in free agency. It was certainly on the list. It was something that we all, I think, wanted to see the team do in free agency. We just weren't sure. I think we all felt pretty confident an edge rusher or a interior defensive lineman were going to be added in free agency, right? Felt pretty comfortable about that. I wasn't sure if a backup quarterback was going to walk through that door for the Arizona Cardinals in free agency, but that is exactly what happened yesterday, as it was reported that the Cardinals plan to sign veteran quarterback Jacoby Brissett to a 2-year deal. So that is the backup quarterback option that the Cardinals have chosen to bring on board. And I'll tell you, I like this a lot. This is a really nice signing for the Arizona Cardinals because he checks all of the boxes. A starter, a guy who has starter experience, I should say, played for multiple different organizations, started with New England, was in Indianapolis, Miami, Cleveland, Washington, started 5 games last year for New England. Last year in New England, went 1-4 in the 5 games as a starter, but he was there to be one thing and one thing only, and that was the bridge quarterback to Drake May. Hey, we want to take our time getting Drake May up to speed. We want to make sure that we are comfortable making that switch to our rookie quarterback. Jacoby Brissett, you're familiar with this place. You're familiar with this team. You're familiar with everything going on in New England. Can you be our bridge? Can you be our starting quarterback for the first half of the season, maybe? He ended up going 5 starts, went 1-4 in those 5 starts in his career, has thrown for over 11,000 yards, 53 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. You look at this guy and you say he checks all the boxes. Starter experience, veteran, played with different organizations. What does that tell me? I said it yesterday. It tells me this is a guy who teams feel comfortable bringing into their building as a backup quarterback because he's not going to ruffle any feathers. He is going to be the perfect backup quarterback for your team for when, if you need somebody to play 2 or 3 games because Kyler Murray goes down with an injury, your season's not over. How many times do teams have that catastrophic injury to a quarterback and he's going to miss maybe a month, 4 or 5 games, and you just know that your season is over because you don't trust the backup quarterback to give you a chance? Guess what? Jacoby Brissett gives you a chance. Is he going to wow you? Absolutely not. There's a reason why he's been a backup his entire career. There's a reason why he is now going to be on his 6th different franchise. But he checks all of those boxes. What I find very interesting about this is the length of the deal. Because I think there are 2 ways for us to look at this being a 2-year deal, reportedly, that the Cardinals gave out to Jacoby Brissett. The non-conspiratorial version of events is the Cardinals didn't want to have to do this again next year. They wanted to have somebody in-house that could be their backup quarterback for 2 seasons so that they're not right back in this market next year. They identified a guy that they like. They identify a guy that fits with their offensive system. Remember, he played 11 games in Cleveland with Drew Petzing when Petzing was the quarterback coach there in Cleveland. So everybody's kind of comfortable with each other. You're Drew Petzing. You're the offensive coordinator. That's my guy. I'm comfortable with him. He knows what I'm going to ask of my quarterbacks. So when you identify a guy like that, bring me that guy in on a multi-year deal so I'm not doing this again next offseason. I'm not right back in the backup quarterback market when maybe I don't like the options. And maybe Jacoby Brissett is my best option. So get him for 2 years, give myself a 2-year runway of I have a high-floor backup quarterback. I don't have a high ceiling, but I have a high-floor backup quarterback that I'm paying $6-7 million that checks that box. That's the I'm not putting on the tinfoil hat version of events. The tinfoil hat version of me, when seeing this news yesterday and seeing that it was a 2-year deal, wondered aloud, especially because Jacoby Brissett was a bridge quarterback last year. I thought to myself, are they trying to set up an exit ramp? What do I mean by that? Are they trying to maybe set it up to where if they choose to move on from Kyler Murray at the end of the season, they have somebody already in-house that can be that bridge if they went out and got a young starter in the draft? Or that if they brought somebody in that was more of a reclamation project, you now have a quarterback battle on your hands, Jacoby Brissett, the veteran backup that's been there, and then you also bring somebody in to compete, right? Anthony Richardson there in Indianapolis, they bring in Daniel Jones, there's going to be a competition. Jacoby Brissett's not Anthony Richardson, but you see my point here of bringing in somebody to provide that competition. Or if this thing bottoms out and you're picking pretty high in the draft, or you move up to get your quarterback, you've got your bridge, because guess what? Jacoby Brissett just did that last year. Again, I think we're a ways away from that being the reality, but I did think about it yesterday. The thought crossed my mind that the Cardinals making this a 2-year deal could have been planning for next year, moving on from Kyler Murray. Not to say that Jacoby Brissett is your next quarterback, but that you want a veteran in-house makes you feel a little bit more comfortable moving on from Kyler and maybe reevaluating your options. I think it's more the former than it is the latter. I think it's more they don't want to be in this mess of needing to pick a backup quarterback year in and year out. They want some stability at that position. They want somebody who's familiar with the system, and then next year, who's already been there for a year, you would feel even more comfortable if that guy had to start 2 or 3 games for you. I think that's really the motive for the 2-year deal. But I did wonder aloud yesterday, and now bringing it to the air today, could they kind of be just trying to hedge their bets a little bit and have an insurance policy for next offseason if things go sideways and they want to move on from Kyler Murray? They have somebody in-house that could be their bridge while they try to figure everything out. You could do a lot worse as a bridge quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. He started 5 games last year, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 826 yards, doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot, 87 career games. He's made 53 starts. I told you the numbers, 11,400 career yards, 53 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Also has rushed for nearly 1,000 yards in his career, 15 more touchdowns. And this stat that is in this NFL.com story that I am reading. Kyler Murray started all 17 games last year, but missed some time in 2023, coming back from the ACL injury, and then suffered the ACL injury in 2022. Without Kyler Murray, the Cardinals went 1-8 with Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune starting in his place. You want somebody that provides you a higher floor than 1-8. You want somebody that if you're missing Kyler Murray for 2 or 3 games, gives you a chance to win one of those 3 games, gives you a chance to at least be competitive in those 3 games, to have a chance in the fourth quarter, and that's what Jacoby Brissett provides. So just looking at this from a 2025 lens, you feel a lot better if you need somebody to pinch hit for Kyler Murray for a game or 2 throughout the course of the season. You feel better about that. Long term, I wonder if there's a little bit of a hedge, there's a little bit of an insurance policy that the Cardinals are putting in place here with Jacoby Brissett. But another box checked. So made the big splash with edge with Josh Sweat. Now have checked the box of backup quarterback. There's still a lot for this team to do. We're going to touch on that here today on the program. I'm starting to grow a little bit worried about the Cardinals and their activity or lack thereof here over the last 2 days, today and yesterday. But they get Josh Sweat, they land the backup quarterback, and they get somebody who provides them a high floor option in case they need somebody for a game or 2 this season. So you can't be too upset about that. You can be upset about some of the other things they haven't done this offseason, but they got the top edge rusher available, and they got a really good backup quarterback option. And I know I campaigned for Gardner Minshew here on the show, and I know we talked about Marcus Mariota. We talked about all these different options, right? And there's different reasons to pick those guys that I just mentioned. And I said Minshew made some sense. Jacoby Brissett makes sense for all of the same reasons that Minshew does. Been with a bunch of different organizations, has that starting experience. I mean, you have somebody right now that's backing up Kyler Murray that has made 53 career starts. Kyler Murray goes down for a series in a game, you feel like you have a trusted veteran that you can turn to. Right? Kyler Murray goes down in the game with a concussion. Just giving you an example here. You're not all of a sudden going, oh no, Clayton Tune has to finish this game out. We don't stand a chance. You now go, oh, we have Jacoby Brissett. It's going to look different. But Jacoby Brissett, steady hand, veteran presence. is not going to run away from that pressure, going to run away from that environment, has done it before, and is probably going to do it again throughout the remainder of his NFL career. So high regard, high marks for me on this move. They needed to get an upgraded backup quarterback. We were concerned on whether or not they were going to do it because we can talk about it here on these airwaves. We can talk about it in podcasts. We can write about it in the newspaper. But a lot of the focus was going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And I wondered if this was going to fall to the back burner and be a last-minute thing. The Cardinals said no as they get Jacoby Brissett for a 2-year deal, bringing him here to Arizona. So you can check that box. Kyler Murray has a new backup quarterback. They're paying him about $6.25 million over the next 2 seasons. And so they give themselves an insurance policy for the next 2 years in case things go south.